Hey everyone, it's Blake here with the Southern Dogman podcast. I just want to take a second and apologize to the men that I had on the podcast the other night. It's not Prince, it is Shane and David Price. Uh, could not figure out how to get it edited out, but I hope y'all enjoy the episode, guys. I apologize, but it's Shane and David Price. Thank y'all.
All right.
All right, everyone. I'd like to welcome y'all again to the Southern Dogmen podcast. It's been a minute. I don't think I've dropped anything in 3 or 4 weeks now, but tonight we have a good episode. We have Mr. David Prince and Shane Prince, the winners of the USDC Truck Hunt this year. I want to start off by saying congratulations, y'all. I got to watch that final cast on Facebook, and it was a ball. Really enjoyed how they was able to come on live and actually show some of the dogs working and everything like that. I hope we can see some more hunts and organizations start to do that, because that helps out getting more people into the sport. Everybody's sharing, doing the likes, doing the comments. It just helps the sport grow and everything like that. But I'd like to welcome y'all on here. Let's dive on into this thing, guys. Introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you and where y'all are from for the people who don't know.
Go ahead, Shane.
All right. My name's Shane Price. I've kind of been around the dogs some my entire life. My grandpa Bill Townsend kind of got me into it, and just never really took it serious when I was younger. And then when I graduated high school, I figured I wanted to go all in on it. So my dad bought me a little cur dog named Jake, and that's kind of where it began for both of us, really. Just started him as a pup, and then we learned, and we're here. So it's just been a long past few years. We hadn't been doing it all that long, really, but we just feel like we've learned a lot, and it's just crazy to be sitting here on a podcast, to be honest with you. So,
Well, did y'all jump straight into the competition hunting, or did y'all kind of dabble with pleasure hunting to start out with? How'd that come about?
for me, I just wanted to kill something when I first started. I mean, we had we had just basically just pleasure dogs, I guess is what you'd call them. And I've shot every squirrel I treed. Now I very rarely shoot squirrels or very rarely shoot coons. It's just kind of how we do. It's crazy how it changes, but it took probably about a year or so for me to get into competition hunting. But once I went on one cast, that's probably all I've thought about since, to be honest with you.
That bug got a hold of you. That's kind of what's happened to me.
Yep.
So what about you, David? Well, what's kind of a little bit of your background? How'd you get into it and stuff like that?
Well, my name's David Price. I live in Clarksville, Virginia. Um, be honest with you, I had me and my dad, Tom Price. We raised dogs a lot when I was younger, and never really was hunting dogs too much. And then Shane was wanting a squirrel dog, and honestly, I thought it was kind of crazy myself. But we ended up getting him a pup, and then I started going with him, and we just fell in love with it, and he actually was going on the comp hunt, and I went with him on a cast, and like he just said a minute ago, once I went up one time, I was hooked, and it's just something it's just so much fun to do.
Now, are y'all still dabbling with any of the coon dogs or anything like that? Are y'all competition hunting any coon dogs or anything, or are y'all specifically just running squirrel dogs?
I've dabbled.
Shane does. Shane does.
Yeah. Yeah, I've dabbled in the coon hunt some. I've hunted dogs for a couple different people, and just never really had nothing real special, as far as coon dog, but something that I could compete with, just not on a real high level. So we've just kind of focused on squirrel hunt most of the time, with my dad having copper and then us having a few other dogs. We just had better luck with it, I guess you'd say.
Now, y'all have several dogs y'all are pushing, or is it mainly just the copper dog?
My dad Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're good, but go ahead.
Uh, my dad has copper. Him and my grandpa own him, and I try to help him out, whenever he needs to go to a hunt or whatever, in any way I can. And they had a Wonder Woman dog, and I hunted her last year. She was really doing well at the end of the season. Kind of got her head on straight, and that's what I was really focused on. And she ended up passing away on us this summer. I believe she had a heat stroke or something, and I don't know what exactly happened to her, but that's kind of set me back as far as having a dog to push this year. But it kind of worked out where I'm kind of in between, having a house and having the time to even hunt a whole lot. So it's kind of worked out to where I can just hunt copper at a few hunts and help them out in any way. And just hopefully next year I'll get back to pushing something hard.
There you go. What about you, David? Is Copper your only dog that you're running, or you got a couple more you like to dabble with throughout the season?
No, he is the only dog that I'm hunting in any hunts. We've got other dogs, some other young dogs and some other stuff that we do have, but he's the main dog. I would say would be our main focus as far as going to a competition hunt. Yeah.
Okay. How's that dog bred up? I mean, to me, he looks like an English coonhound. Would that be correct, or?
Yeah, he's half English and half Walker.
Okay.
He's out of Last Chance Lucy and Bone Crusher.
Okay. How old is he?
Yes. He turned 6 in last June. So he'll turn 7 this June.
So he's still got a little time. It sounds like he's pushing.
Yeah. Hopefully we got a few more years, and he is getting older, but he still hunts like he's 2 or 3. So
well, let's kind
hopefully we can get a few more years out of him.
Let's kind of talk about his hunting style. I'm from the cur dog world. I've dabbled with some coon hounds, but just some pleasure coon dogs, walker dogs. Does a coon hound that is squirrel hunting, does it operate the same as, say, a dog that's running coons? I've not been in the woods with one that squirrel hunts.
Well, most hounds, have a reputation of making that extra tree. A lot of people don't like, most people call it a slick tree. Most time it's a den, but it's just real cold. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just got a lot more nose. I've had a couple Walker females that they're going to be treed every minute or so. And, they're one bark tree dogs, and that works, in some cast situations. But we've learned in the past couple of years, you really need something that's accurate and fast and, independent. And that's what Copper is. He's got a long tail, but he hunts like a high-end cur dog. He's super, super fast, big mouth, and as accurate as anything. He's a pretty special animal. There ain't many hounds like him, to be honest with you. Pretty rare.
So what does it take to... Let me ask you this. Has Copper always been a squirrel dog, or has he ever messed with any coons at night or anything?
He's always been a squirrel dog. Okay. Yeah, he's never been cut loose on coon.
Okay.
As far as I know, anyways.
well, this is for me not knowing, like I said, I'm used to coon hounds. We'll cut a coon dog loose around the house. We may have to hunt 30 or 40 minutes for that dog gets in there and finally gets treed, and he'll have the coon. What makes these squirrel dogs be able to go from trailing that cold track, taking a while to find it, to being able to put these squirrels up in trees, like y'all said, just like a snap of the finger? Because the dogs I'm used to, they're kind of slower. They have to go in there, find the track, work the track, get it. When these hounds, they cut them loose on the squirrels, man, it seems like they're just putting them up left and right. What is that switch that kind of flips in that dog is what I guess I'm asking.
Well, in my opinion, I think there's a lot more squirrels there is coons, and that helps. But I think a lot of the people are liking that the hound coming into the squirrels, adding some nose into the squirrel dogs, and adding that winding ability. That's really how these dogs are treating these squirrels. In my opinion, they're getting treated every 2 minutes max, and they're under squirrels, and some of them squirrels, hadn't even touched the ground, and it's just, that's really what Copper does. He's got a big winded nose, and he can treat them sometimes that dogs may not smell, and he can get in the pocket of them and treat them pretty quick. He's got a good nose, and that helps him out. But, a lot of hounds they've got good noses, but they use too much nose. You know what I'm saying? They're not taking their time and making the right tree. As soon as they smell squirrel going up a tree, it's just like a coon going up a tree. They just tree it. Squirrels bounce around. Yeah, squirrels bounce around and jump from tree to tree, and it takes a real special dog to tree squirrels. It's actually amazing how some of them do it. to be in the exact tree every time.
Yeah, I've told a lot of my buddies, they don't understand, but, well, man, why'd you quit deer hunting? Why'd you quit turkey hunting? To me, it is incredible to be able to take one of these dogs through the woods, and when it trees, it has that squirrel in that tree. People just
Yeah.
don't
Well,
understand how amazing it is.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're deer hunting, you're sitting there watching them. They jump from tree to tree, and they run here and they run there, and they climb the trees and fall out of trees, and they're real erratic animals, And then you send a dog in there, and they can just tree it in the same tree, and it's like, how in the world did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just unreal.
You take in first timers, and you go in there, you have a good day, kill several squirrels, and they're like, man, I just can't believe this. This is crazy. That dog's got that tree or the squirrel in that tree, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yep.
Well,
it is amazing how they do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I've been doing this about 3 years, and I come from still hunting with my grandfather. We walked through the woods, and he'd send me through the woods, go run that squirrel up that tree. I'd go running down through there, run the squirrel up the tree, man. But ever since I've gotten into these dogs, I've fallen in love with it, and I take new people with me all the time, and it's like it opens up their eyes. It's fun, man. I have a ball.
Well, I tell you, talking about the deer hunting. I've deer hunted since I was a little kid, and literally every chance I could get, I would go deer hunting. And it's kind of crazy. And Shane will tell you, when deer season came in, every single weekend I'd take weeks of vacation off to go deer hunting, and it was something that we always did. And then we got into messing with these dogs, and the deer hunting has definitely slowed down a lot. So now when I'm off work or vacation or weekends, now I'm always in the woods with a squirrel dog.
Mm-hmm.
And we still deer hunt some, but not nowhere near as much as we used to. That's for sure.
I feel like a lot of people, they don't understand how much work it goes in to have these dogs to look right. Whether it's a pleasure dog or a competition dog, people don't understand how much time we're in the woods spending.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about what y'all did to get Cooper ready for this hunt. I mean, is it something y'all have worked toward all season, or y'all just come up, hey, the dog's looking good, let's enter this hunt? How'd it come about?
Well, my dad primarily hunts, and he can get into that. But Copper he's 6 now, and he's probably been a high end competition contender since he was probably 3, 4, 5 years old. Probably more like 3, really. Maybe even younger, but he's been in other people's hands, of course, and he's just always been there. He's always been in contention, and it seemed like he just needed a break, and he could win a big one. So usually before the season comes about, they go ahead and book his entries for, just about every hunt they can make it to, and you just kind of roll the dice with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's just real consistent. He's gonna do what Copper does, and it can win you a cast, and sometimes he lose a cast. He just needed the breaks.
There you go. Well, David, let's kind of jump into the hunt itself. Do you remember every cast that you had won?
Yeah, I'm sure we can probably fumble through them. Me and Shane were both on all the casts. So.
Well,
but in the first cast. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, let's talk about them.
Okay. The first cast we had, we drew up Jeff Island with Jade and Tony Walters with Silk. And we went out. It was a good cast. We treed, how many squirrels we treated in that cast, Shane? It was 3 in the cast, wasn't it, total?
Yeah, 3 total.
Yeah, I had 2, and then Jade had 1 squirrel, and Silk had circle tree, so we made it through that first cast with like that.
How many rounds in total was the hunt?
It was 4.
4
rounds. Yeah.
Now they did what, two rounds a day, correct?
Yeah, we did a morning and an afternoon. So the first round was 3 dogs, and then the second round was 2 dogs. The third round was 2 dogs, and then the final cast was 3 dogs.
Okay. Well, let's jump on into that second round. How did it go?
Second one went good. We drew out with Les Hart. He's one of our real good friends, and Les is actually who we got Copper from. We actually got Copper from a couple of years ago, and he's hunting a dog named Gator now. And we had a real good cast. the dogs looked good, and we had kind of a funny issue in that cast. I got copper treed, and we were getting towards the end of the hunt, and we were walking into him. He was about 20 foot up in a tree, and Shane saw him first. Shane saw him first, and was like, "Oh my God, what's he doing?" And then as soon as I seen him, I went running towards him, and he jumped out of the tree, and and he jumped up and went right back to the tree, and I thought he was going to be dead or hurt. But thank goodness he didn't get hurt or anything. But we ended up winning that cast. We just won on circle trees. We didn't tree a squirrel in that cast. It was we were kind of in some rougher woods, and the wind was coming from the wrong direction, so the dogs kept going where they didn't need to go. We couldn't ever get them into the good section of the woods where we all kind of felt like the squirrels would be at. Where other casts had been in there and treated squirrels, but the wind kept coming from the wrong direction, and both dogs kept going away from the good place to hunt. So
now the snow and bad weather, did it set in that night, or was it that next following morning?
it was actually around the middle of the day, wasn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it was middle of the day, right before y'all went out on that final. We were just kind of sitting in the truck waiting around, and then
that's right. Yeah,
coming, and then everything stuck.
Okay,
it was just unreal.
So let's talk about that third round. It's the next morning. It's another 2-dog cast. Did y'all know that the weather was going to be coming in and everything?
Yeah, it was really cold. It was cold all weekend, and it was kind of wind was blowing pretty good, and but the next morning we drew out with Brian Farrell with Rebel, and I was kind of worried in the morning. I actually lived 2 hours from the hunt, so I drove home Saturday night, and I was kind of worried Sunday morning that Copper would be all stoved up from jumping out of that tree. But I mean, he got it. I mean, when I got him out, he was perfectly healthy, like nothing was wrong with him, and we get to the hunt and we drew out with Brian Farrell and Rebel, and we had a really good cast on that one. We started off the cast. I think it was the first tree I got copper treed in, and Brian got Rebel treed in. And as we were walking in the copper, I believe he had timbered the squirrel because he was coming back to the tree that he was on, but the judge didn't get to see the squirrel, and I didn't see the squirrel also. So we kind of started off at the beginning of that cast with a minus. And then Brian was circled up on that. And then both of the dogs looked really good in the cast. We ended up treeing, I think it was 7 squirrels in that cast.
Oh, see, y'all was rolling.
We treed some squirrels in there. Both the dogs looked really good. I ended up with 4 with Copper, and Brian ended up with 3 with Rebel.
Okay. So basically you was able to get out of the hole with your 3 squirrels, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we jump into the final round and everything, USDC, they got a kind of a different rule set from, say, OMCBA and UMCA, correct?
Yeah, they do.
Can we talk about some of those different rules?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe USDC is just an hour and a half cast, just 90 minutes, and they're a little different than some because they want to reward the dog that trees the most squirrels. So, like in that cast that y'all just talked about with Rebel and Farrell, Copper had the minus, but he treated the most squirrels, so he beat him on the tie break basically. And most organizations are not like that, you know what I mean? And I believe in NSD and a few other ones, Copper would have lost that cast, really, looking back on it. But USDC, they want to reward the squirrel dog, is basically what they do,
Well, let's dive a little deeper in that, because you bring up the tiebreaker part. How did that work? You said Copper had 4 squirrels, the other dog had 3. If I'm not mistaken, say I hunt UMCA, that would have put Copper at like 300 plus, and then the other dog would be 300 plus. Is that kind of how the scorecard was working? But they counted the other squirrel as well.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, you're good. They do work it the same way, but that minus, when you have the extra squirrel, it's the dog the most plus points is what wins the cast.
Okay.
So whereas it's not a straight deduction of that 125 for the squirrel to bring you back down. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Well, you've just won the third round. You sitting in the truck and the weather sets in. What's kind of going through y'all's head at the moment? You know, it's snowing. It looked like it's snowing pretty hard. You had what, about an inch of snow on the ground, I'd say.
Yeah, it was coming down good. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's probably at least an inch, maybe two, to be honest with you.
You know,
And windy and cold.
what was kind of going through y'all's head at the moment? You know, getting ready to go to that final round.
Well, I mean, I felt confident in him. I mean, he just been looking so good all weekend and been catching a few breaks here and there, and I felt like it was the right thing to do to hunt it. The other guys, they were kind of wanting to split the money and go home, you know, and not worry about it, and everybody can get home safely and all. But it just felt like, I don't know, I just felt confident in him. I don't know, I just felt like it was his time.
Did they try to put that to a vote, whether to split the money and, you know, everybody go home, or was it kind of on the judges? How'd that play out?
They do it as a vote. They do it as a vote, but it only takes one person to want to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's one person, it's not like it doesn't have to be a majority vote or anything like that. If one person wants to hunt, it's not even an argumentative thing or anything.
Okay.
If one person says it, you know, that's the way it goes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into this final round. You know, kind of tell us the play-by-play from your aspect.
Okay. Final round was good. Like I said, it was snow. It was like we were talking about. It was snowing and it was pretty windy. And we went out there and we first cut the dogs loose. And at the first tree, Copper started making noise, and then Hankette started barking too, kind of in the same direction. And I felt like they were split over there, and but they ended up not being split. But Travis Brewer was hunting Hankette, and Russ Covington was hunting Spring. But Travis ended up getting Hankette treed first, and then I treed Copper in for second. And so when we got to the tree, the first tree we ended up getting circled up. We couldn't find a squirrel. There was a bunch of den trees around, and we beat on all the trees and everything, tried to get a squirrel to come out, but nothing would come out. So I got 50 circle, and then he got 125 circle. So then we cut them after that one. And I think at the second tree, Copper treed a squirrel in the second one, didn't he, Shane?
He did, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we got cut him loose again, and then Copper, I think he went in there. I want to say it wasn't real deep. I want to say maybe what was it, maybe 400 or 500 yards, Shane, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And
we were the whole cast. You know, we were worried dogs was going to blow out, and we just make many trees. I mean, Copper's known for getting deep sometimes on a bad day, and the other dogs were there too. So it was actually crazy that even treat a squirrel, much less tree two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that squirrel that y'all treed on that second tree, was it in a nest? Was it, sitting up in the top of the tree, or?
No, it was right there in the first. It was a really big. I think it was a red oak, I believe is what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a real tall red oak, and it was sitting right in the first fork, just sitting there, never even moved.
Walked right up to it and seen that one then, didn't you?
Yeah, we seen it when we actually saw it when I was going to handle the dog.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, Travis Brewer saw the squirrel before I did. He told me he saw the squirrel, and then I looked up and seen right where it was at.
Now, were you leading the cast at this point?
At this point, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when did the drama happen with deer chasing and all that stuff?
Well, after we cut them loose from that tree, all the dogs kind of ended up in that area, and Spring ended up getting treed too, and she was outside of Copper Steps at that tree, and she ended up getting circled there. So then we had all three dogs on the leash, and then we actually went up and walked across the field, and we cut the dogs from there, and then that's kind of where things went a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Copper ended up getting real deep on that one, and then the dogs kind of ended up splitting up from there, and Copper was real deep in one direction, and I think Hankette and Spring were back the other way, so we were kind of, if I remember correctly, I think we were kind of splitting the difference there, trying to get in between the two, and that's when we had went across another field, and we were kind of getting. I was getting little pieces of copper barking, but not enough where I could tree them or maybe get anybody else to tree them. A lot of times you can hear your dog when other people can't.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're used to hunting them all the time. And that's kind of when the whole thing started. Whenever Hankette sounded like she was treed. She just blew. It was sounding like she's blowing the top out of a tree. And then we Travis treed her, and
Well,
and then
back up, because she treed a squirrel. You remember?
yeah, that's right, that's right. She treed a squirrel
Yeah.
after that. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Spring
I'm glad you said that.
Spring was there with her, and then they both got recut, and then you started splitting the difference, trying to get
That's
copper
right.
tree.
That's right. So at that point, Hankette had taken the lead right there. 'Cause she
Yep.
was 125 plus and 125 circle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And then that's when everything kind of went haywire with the deer, and everybody started taking the minuses and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's when everything went haywire. And she sounded like she was treed down there. Anybody in the woods would have treed their dog and thought they were treed on a squirrel, and we were all just standing there and we're all looking down that direction. And all of a sudden, this big buck just comes out in the field. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody was like, "Look at that buck." And like it never really dawned on anybody that the dog was actually, messing with the deer,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then all of a sudden, the buck started backing up, and then Hankette came out, and then the buck ended up turning around and running, and it was the craziest cast in the world. I'm not gonna lie to you,
It was. It
but
was unreal.
yeah, it was wild. I mean, that's one of those things that it'll probably never happen again in the cast, and it was a really bad break for Travis and Russ on the deer situation, because probably 99% of the dogs, if they'd ran over top of that deer,
They're going
they'd
to
have
do it.
probably done the same. They're going to do the same thing. I think that deer was probably laid up in some thick stuff on the edge of that field, and that dog come up there and probably jumped up, scared the dog, scared the deer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those
Yeah,
quick
him being
situations.
wounded. Him being wounded just where he wouldn't run, and that basically made her sound like she was treed down there because she was stationary.
Yeah,
That's just what made it so crazy. And then takes off again, and then after she took the minus, and then they had to start the three on her, and he ended up he was forced to tree her again, even though we all knew she was on the deer. And then it was insane. It was just a bad break, and it would probably never happen again, like you said.
yeah. And the crazy thing about it was that the deer was, obviously wounded. So that creek that we ended up on I don't know if you watched the live or not, but that creek that we actually ended up at was a really deep creek. Like we couldn't walk across it. It would have come over top of our hip waders. But that deer had stopped at that creek, and it's probably, debating whether it was going to cross the creek or not. And meanwhile, the dogs are on it right there at the creek. And then finally, when we get down there, it jumps in the creek and goes to swim across the creek.
Didn't really have no choice, especially with the dogs and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
So after that situation, it would have been Copper would have been leading, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the other dog had to withdraw or got scratched, however you'd like to put it. The other dog
Yeah,
in the cast, what was it sitting at points
she
wise?
was sitting at 125 circle and 125 minus.
So basically 0 then, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you're sitting there, you kind of got a squirrel lead on everything. What's kind of going through your mind there? I know the hunt was kind of getting a little low on time. What was kind of going through your head at the moment?
Well, I mean, it was we had, I think it was 20 or 30 minutes left, and I knew Copper was treed up there. So in my mind, I was wanting to try to get to him and get him treed again. And because she's a really good dog, and I mean, she can pop squirrels off real quick. So I mean, even with that much time left, you're still not a guaranteed win until the very last, second of the hunt. So in my mind, I was trying to get towards my dog and try to get him treed, so we were a long way from him where we were at.
Yeah, there was tons of ways you could have done it, but the way we both kind of looked at it was, if he gets treed and you get your hands on him, it's over. I mean, it's spring. There's no way spring can win, because she's going to be leaf locked.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're walking to copper and she starts treeing squirrels in front of us, and then we can't, my dad can't get copper treed, for whatever reason, Judge can't hear him, or, she's just getting treed so fast and whatnot, it's just, you kind of get yourself in a bad situation. But, if you can walk to where you can hear him and you tree him, it don't matter what happens, as long as you get your hands on him.
Yeah. Well, let's go on. What happened there at the end of it?
Well, we ended up getting within hearing of him. We were, I believe it was finally when I got him treated. I think it was around 900 yards or so.
Mm.
And we ended up getting all the way over there. And I think the whole deer thing had Spring's head kind of a little bit messed up, because of that whole situation there. But she ended up not getting treed. But we ended up getting over there towards Copper, and we had to stop. We stopped once or twice, and they put the 90 on him, and he ended up breaking the 90, and we finally got into the woods where we were going to get him. And this is where another craziness happens. I was the first one to step into the woods. We were coming out of a field, and I was the first one to step into the woods, and it was kind of hitting me, if I can, once I get over here and hook this leash on this dog, we want a truck. And it was amazing feeling. So like, I'm like on this big high to get, getting this dog, and I get over there to him, and Mark told me to handle the dog, seeing he was treed, and I went over there and I went to grab him. And when I went to grab him, he went around the back side of the tree, and I was just, just like normal. I just figured I'd, go around the backside tree and get a hold of him. Well, he ended up coming down off of the backside of the tree and went around the backside of a lap pile. And then they ended up putting the 15 on me, and he didn't show treat in 15 seconds. So I ended up getting a minus, and then he ended up just going on away from on the other side of the lap pile. So I'm still in the lead at this point, but now it's like, it's like you stuck a pin in a hot air in a balloon. We still had 4 minutes left in the hunt, and so now Spring was way back behind us, and Russ was trying to get her treed in. He wanted to get where he could hear her. So now we're walking back the other direction where he can hear her, and it was a very long 4 minutes for me. I'm not going to lie to you.
So Copper didn't try to pull back up treat or anything right there?
He ended up going and getting treed. It wasn't in that area. I mean, he did leave that area, which is something that's not common for him. I mean, normally when he gets treed, he's going to stay there, as long as it takes you to get to him. And I don't really know what happened there, to be honest with you. I mean, he was right there at me, and I could have got my hands on him, and literally I missed him. Sometimes you got to, get your dog and you kind of miss the collar, and I missed him, and he went around the backside of the tree, and I didn't really, I thought I was just going to go around the other side of the tree and get him, and he ended up getting behind a lap pile, and I couldn't get my hands on him. And but in the hunts, you can't really go to yelling at your dog or anything like that. So there wasn't nothing I could really do there. And ended up moving on from there. I don't really understand what happened there, to be honest with you.
So after that break, you said the other man went to try to listen to his dog to see if he could get him treed in. Did any dog tree after that, after you took your minus?
No, I didn't. No other dog treed. Copper ended up getting treed again, but it was after the hunt was over.
So right there, you won the truck then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were sitting there, and the time was going down, and Russ never did get Spring treed, and we were in the field, and that's when the hunt time ended.
Well, what's that feeling like? There's not everybody's going to win a truck. What was running through y'all's head right there? If I'm not mistaken, all three of you was there on the cast and everything together, wasn't you?
Yeah. Well, me and Shane were on the cast. My dad, he stayed at the truck. He stayed at the truck, and a lot of times his knees bother him real bad, so he can't go out on the cast with us, but he normally pick us up or drive around and, pick up the cast, or, any way he can help also, but it was just an amazing feeling. And it was something that, it was unreal. It's something we talk about all the time. We all talk about these hunts, and, it's something you work really hard for, and you hunt all the time and try to get your dog ready. And you go and you feel good about your dog, and sometimes you get the breaks and sometimes you don't, and you end up going home. But to actually win that truck was just an amazing feeling. It's almost one of those things. It's almost like it hasn't set in yet.
There you go. Well, it's kind of a team effort and everything. Who got to keep the truck?
Well, we got it.
Everybody talks about that. Hey, if we're gonna split this hunt, who's gonna get the truck? We're gonna sell it. We're gonna split it. What are we gonna do?
Well, it's sitting at the house right now. We still haven't fully decided what we're going to do yet. So, I don't know.
Be something to talk about for a little while until y'all start hunting.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Well,
it would be a good little. It would be a good little, nice little hunting truck. It would be nice to keep it, just to say your dog want it, and run around it to the hunts and stuff too. That would be really cool to do that also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, the USDC, I know they kind of run all year and everything like that. Is there any more big hunts this year y'all are going to try to look at to go or anything like that?
Yeah, there's several left. They usually have at least one big one a month, and sometimes a couple big ones. I know there's one in Owenston, Kentucky. That's a big one, the Grand Floor Series, and then of course the World Hunt, and then of course the JPI is the biggest one of the year.
Mm-hmm. Now,
usually
if I'm not mistaken, that JPI hunt that's the $100,000 hunt. Like that's the biggest prize in these squirrel dogs, correct? At the moment.
Yes, it is.
It is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, there's what is it? Usually 81 dogs, and then $1,000 entry fee, and then people get a little crazy at the Calcutta at that one. Dogs run up high.
Now,
yeah, they do.
Explain that Calcutta. I always said on Facebook, what does the Calcutta mean? Is that kind of like a side pot bet?
Yeah, it is.
It's a side pot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? I'll throw $100 in there. That's basically what's going on with it.
Basically, how it works is they take the list of dogs and handlers, and they basically go down the list, and anybody in the crowd can bet, and sometimes it goes up by 50s, and sometimes it goes up by 100, and they just basically auction them off. That's basically how it works. And usually most hunts, they'll do like a jackpot, and it's $200 a piece per dog. And usually at the JPI, you'll see dogs go from $500 to $1,000, and some of them go for $100, $200. But the dogs that that win the most, they usually get jacked up to $500 to $1,000. A lot of times it's crazy, but it adds up the purse, to the winner.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like y'all got some more hunts to hit this year, and I'm hoping y'all the best and everything like that. I'd like to get y'all on here again if y'all go win another big one.
That sounds good to me. We'd love to do it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
We've been rolling here for about 40 minutes. I appreciate y'all getting on and talking a little bit about yourselves, talking about your dogs, and like I said, I'd like to wish y'all congratulations again, man. That's something that everybody kind of dreams about. I think about it. I don't think I'll ever have the dog power, but a man can always lay in the bed and think about it at night.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's finally setting in, really, that it happened. Me and my dad, we talk every single day, and we talk dogs every single day. It's just we talk about winning trucks and going to the JPI and winning. We've been talking about it for years, and it's crazy that it finally happens. It's just
now where's that JPI hunt located? Where are they doing it this year?
Manchester, Tennessee.
Manchester, Tennessee. All right. Well, anybody out there in podcast land, if you want to go see the biggest squirrel hunt, probably in competition, $100,000, Manchester, Tennessee. So,
Yep.
And, that's an open dog registry. It's run what you brung, correct?
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I might try to mosey my way up there. I ain't going to bring anything, but I'd like to come watch for a day or so, maybe. So.
Yeah.
You ought to come on and hunt them with us. It's a lot of fun. Boy, it really is.
I ain't got the dog power for all that. So. But like I said, guys, I appreciate y'all hopping on here and talking to us for a few minutes. I'll let y'all know when I get this thing edited up and get it online. Like I said, I hope to hear from y'all again. I'll be rooting for you throughout the rest of the year and everything.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us on here. It's crazy to finally be on the podcast, like I said. And, it's thanks to USDC for even having a hunt where you can win a truck. It's just unreal, to be honest with you. And a place where you can make some money and also enjoy it, and actually make some real money to reward yourself for the time and hard work you put in it and all the money you invest in it. It's awesome to have.
If anybody in podcast land wanted to get entered for one of these hunts, what would they need to do? Who do they need to get in contact with?
I would say Jeff Island on you can contact him on Facebook. Super nice guy. He'll get you sorted out and kind of figure out where the local hunts to your area are. You can also look on the featured tab on USDC, and they do a lot of just like $100 blue ribbon hunts, and they do $9 $300 entries, $500 entries. It ain't always a truck hunt, if that makes sense. So, and a lot of those $100 are just open hunts. They can have 20 dogs, they can have 5, just whoever shows up.
Alrighty. Well, like I said, guys, I appreciate it, and maybe one of these days I'll get to come tag along and hunt with you somewhere. So
that sounds good. Well, we really appreciate you having us on here, and thanks a lot for that.
Yes, sir. I'll let y'all know when I get this thing edited up, guys. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, sounds good.
Y'all have a great night, fellas.
You too.
You too.